going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. That's Dean 7904. If you want to get all technical on me, that is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. It is 513, 512, 513, depending on your clock. If it's a little slow, a little fast on the East Coast, 213 West Coast, 413 Tennessee time. So of course, I'm just having the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It is called Grinderslive. Joining me today, 4 basketball games going down in the association, 3-man booth. Batting first, leading off. You may know him from such things as being Kid Yahoo. That is his moniker. It's Curtis. What's going on, dude? How are things in your world? And hey, man, 4-game slate and all the stars, not all of them, but enough of them are questionable. We're gonna have a lot of fun discussing this and breaking it down as information potentially trickles through. We'll see. What's up?
It's nice. It's just nice to see my boy Stevie here. Is what it all comes down to. I'm covering for Chief today. It was supposed to be Chief's gig, but he offered me the trade for a Friday show, and so I had to accept that and help him out today. So that's why I'm here. But I'm ready. It's a nice little slate. We got tons of injury news. We're kind of, like you said, in a holding pattern, waiting on some news. But yeah, we can have a little fun here. It's nice to not have like 11 or 12 games.
Have you looked at tomorrow yet?
I mean, I'm also doing the show. I'm on for tomorrow.
Do you know how many tomorrow is?
It's a lot.
13.
Yeah.
They're not messing around. No games on Thanksgiving, and then Friday is like 11 or 12 again. Just the way the NBA schedule this season, it seems to be like my wheelhouse is like 6, 7, 8 game slates. That's my favorite slate. Like in theory, just a general. Obviously, sometimes it feels a little bigger, a little smaller, depending on how many guys are in or out. But we haven't gotten many of those this season, unfortunately, for me. But yeah, Stevie, are you equally as happy to see Kirk Dees? And of course, you all know Stevie from such things as NASCAR, which I think NASCAR is currently on pause. They're chilling for a minute or so, and from the morning grind, still grinding away. What's up, Stevie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting some sleep, so NASCAR season's over. So I'm always excited to see my boy, Mr. Kirk. I mean, yeah, like we get to talk Red Sox, right? Like we're not doing basketball, are we? There's only 4 games today.
The
Red Sox is tilt. I had no expectations of them, right? And then they suck you in when we beat the Yankees, which was great. That's the highlight of the season, right? Like sending the Yankees packing. That's great. But then I finally, we did lose Erod.
Is that a
Tigers,
loss?
by the way? To the Tigers.
Is that a loss? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah,
I'm with you though. I didn't think they were going to do anything this year, but hey, we knocked the Yankees out. So like you said, that's a plus, and I'm not too worried about the loss of Erod. He can't stay healthy, so I mean that doesn't hurt my feelings.
All right, and we're always waiting for that Erod positive regression. Maybe it comes in Detroit where it's a little bit easier to pitch.
He's going to like win the Cy Young over in Detroit. Positive regression. Yeah,
easier teams to face. As far as tonight, I got to ask you, Kirk Dees, because this is a really interesting slate. If the people don't know, we're not going to do the whole body parts. We'll kind of, list them off, like who's in, who's out, who's questionable, as we go game by game. But, obviously monster slate, as far as the stars being dinged. LeBron is out for suspension. Teammate Anthony Davis is ill. He's questionable. And like, we've seen him like leave a game before in the middle of the game for being sick. So that could be legit. If neither one of them play, all of a sudden it's Westbrook season. We'll see how that goes down. Bam Adebayo is not feeling particularly well for Miami, so he's questionable. Nikola Jokic has missed several games. It's in a late slate. That's the other part of it. That's kind of the game theory of it. As far as lineup construction, Kirk Dees, 2 early games, right? 2 games, 7:00, 7:30. It's kind of like a doubleheader slate, and then you have Denver, Portland at 10:00, and then the Clippers versus Dallas. Who, of course, Luka Doncic. Why wouldn't he? He's questionable as well, too. Hasn't played the last several games. And we were talking about, the story, trying to follow along with the beat writers to see how likely or unlikely he is to give it a go tonight. He did say he's going to try his best to play tonight. I think Jokic plays for a couple reasons, but also it's an ESPN game. So maybe not. MPJ, of course, out for the season. Well, not official, but out for tonight. That's all we care about, and potentially out for the season for Denver as well. Take me through your thought process and how you're setting your lineups up kind of with if-then stuff, depending on when information comes in, because again, there's 2 early games, 2 late games, doubleheader. Stars, we'll know about Bam. We'll know about Davis, I assume, at 7:00 for a 7:30 game, most likely. So the thought process as far as building lineups before we kind of dig in and break it down game by game.
I'm gonna take it as the slate gives it to me, right? Like as the news comes in. So we're gonna get the Bam news early, and that's big news, right? Like if he happens to be out, that certainly ups the chances of a competitive game, right? Like because it's against the Pistons, who are just terrible defensively. So there's gonna be a lot of openings in here for some usage, rebounds, all of that Bam leaves if he's out. If he's in, then that game is just kind of meh, and so then I won't feel so bad about holding on to the other news. But I'll probably, I'll definitely be playing Dedmon if Bam is out. Jimmy becomes a stellar play. He's probably a stellar play anyway, but it's just really, you got to like your chances of a competitive game against the Pistons. And so it would make that game much more interesting.
I got Jimmy Butler at 25-1 to get a triple double tonight. I don't know if the bet is official or if it's real because it's through the Hard Rock app. And Stevie, I'm sure you know what's going on there. And have you made any wagers today on the Hard Rock app? And are they going to count? Does it matter?
I mean, I have like 6 or 7 things going for tonight. So
yeah,
I think today will be our last day. I think tomorrow they kind of shut us off, but I mean, we knew it was coming. Let's be honest.
Yeah, not worth getting into all that, but that myself and Stevie both in Florida, that's our only sports book we have to work with. Yeah,
I thought you were moved to Nashville, Dean. Is that
I'm all over the place? Yeah, I was. Yeah, I've been in Vegas. I was in Charleston, South Carolina. I was in Nashville for a little bit more than a cup of coffee, and now I'm currently in South Florida once again. And then we might reboot it again. We might go part two, and we'll see.
Last question, follow-up question.
Yeah,
what's Pepsi 7 doing?
He's in Canada. He's just hanging out in Canada. Yeah,
I know. I mean, you guys were close and went on that tour together and stuff. I haven't seen him on any shows in a while. I was just wondering if he's still in the DFS streets or.
He's still dabbling for fun. Yeah, he's still playing a bit. Yeah, he's having a good time. Yeah, all is well in Pepsi 7 world. Yeah. So as far as just like we'll talk about it game by game in a second, but like Bam Adebayo, you mentioned Detroit. We didn't talk about the body parts there, but the lack of Isaiah Stewart, of course, he's suspended for his part in the kerfuffle. Is that a good word? Whatever you want to call that with LeBron. And LeBron, of course, out tonight for that reason as well, too. They face each other like in 3 games, by the way. That'll be fun for sure. Detroit versus the Lakers, part 2. But, Kirk D's, like you mentioned Bam Adebayo against
yes.
Who's gonna stop him? Like Luke
that's
Garza, Trey Lyles? Come on.
That's the thing. I should have mentioned that. That's the thing. So, right, we're hoping that this Bam is out because then we get the Dedmon plays and it would be a great matchup for Dedmon too as well. But if Bam is in, you're right. It's Garza and Trey Lyles, which, I would probably roster Head Chopper in this matchup, even hat and all on the court, when he wears his hat on the court, but like he did in Nashville last year. But I would roster him in this.
What would Head Chopper's salary be?
Min price, of course, but he's a value play, but
he's a full-fledged punt. All right, let's delve in. Let's kind of talk about that game at first. And again, 4-gamer. Stevie, I didn't ask you. Do you have any general thoughts as far as overarching thoughts as far as this slate? And then again, a lot of it is fluid. It is up in the air because multiple studs are currently questionable, and they seem genuinely questionable. Like Jokic feels like it's a 50-50. Luka feels like it's a 50-50. Anthony Davis, who knows? Like he woke up not feeling well. We've seen him before where, again, he's left the game in the middle of the game not feeling well. In the first quarter, his tummy wasn't feeling well, and he said he was throwing up like three times or so that day. And maybe that's an independent incident. I don't know. General thoughts before we break it in, game by game. We can actually talk about the games a little bit more because just the 4-gamer.
I think Luka and Jokic both sit. They don't have a game tomorrow. They don't have a game Thanksgiving. That gives them a 3 more days to kind of get back to 100%. It's very early in the season. I think Anthony Davis sits. They play the Pacers tomorrow night, so they're traveling from New York to Indiana today. I think we get a slate where we could potentially see Luka, Jokic, and Anthony Davis sit, unless Jokic and Luka are both like really close. I think Davis is more on the side of doubtful than questionable, but I mean that's just a gut call. Placed a lot of bets earlier today on Westbrook and THT, hoping that I'm right on that aspect. Yeah. But I mean, if they all play, the slate becomes one of those slates where you could pay up for a couple different people to get super contrarian. So I mean, this slate sets up as a really fun like 4-game slate. Usually like 6 is I think the fun number, but I think
Yeah.
today this 4-gamer, depending on this injury news, is interesting.
If they all play like we're playing, well, I mean, Corey Joseph is going to be really popular. We'll talk about him in a second. I'm presuming at least, I'm sure projecting as well. He's going to draw the start and play a bunch of minutes today for Detroit. Let me just pull this from Andy's article today. If you guys are premium members, you probably read this as well. As far as Luka, he wrote Luka missed the last 3 games technically due to both a left knee sprain and a left ankle sprain. Let's see. I'm just going to try to like pull the part. Yeah. If this quote, okay. Now I'm at I don't the quote the click on. So he shouted in pain essentially in practice the other day, which was somewhat alarming at the end of practice. He went through practice, which was good, but he hurt himself again shouting in pain. And there was an update today from one of the beats. This is kind of what we were talking about pre-show, Curtis. And the update was basically, he said he's still questionable. He's going to test his knee and ankle pregame, but I will do everything possible to play, is his quote. Said the knee pain is still there, but when he bumped knees with a teammate yesterday, it didn't make it any worse. So it's no worse. So whatever. Obviously, Dallas probably should err on the side of caution because he's the entire team. But if he's fine and he's going to give it a go, whatever. That's all we got. Stay tuned. Game by game, let's go ahead and break it down. First game on tap is Detroit at home versus the Miami Heat. We talked about Bam Adebayo being questionable. Not just him, but Duncan Robinson is questionable with a knee, and PJ Tucker also ill, also not feeling well. So he is questionable. On the Detroit side, we talked about Isaiah Stewart being out for suspension. Kelly Olynyk's been out for a while, still going to be out for a while. No revenge for him. He's out with his knee. And Killian Hayes, another integral part of their rotation, is out with a thumb. All right. I'm going to pull up our if-then stuff too, Kirk D's. Like if Bam is out, how that does change things. That's another thing you get as far as our premium. And the guy that pops the most in the if-then stuff, I believe, you kind of referenced it already, is Dedmon as far as a percent. Like he goes from a guy that's unplayable to a guy all of a sudden becomes an interesting value play. As I pull that up, talk to me about the Miami Heat tonight.
Yeah, so that would be he would be a smash play in a great spot against Garza and Lyles. He's 3,500 on DraftKings. He's $10 on Yahoo. What's he on FanDuel? Whatever he is, he's going to be cheap.
Yeah.
But certainly can pick up a bunch of rebounding. They're such a poor defensive rebound. They're a poor rebounding team in general. The Pistons are. I mean, the Pistons are just poor in general everywhere. 24th in defensive rating. You would think that maybe the line will move and that you get a better chance at a more competitive game. There are some pace issues in this game, but certainly, I mean, all the Heat would become more attractive. Like Jimmy Butler would be a top play on some of the sites. I mean, he's just so consistent, right? Like
super solid.
He's just, you can just feel fine when you're going to get your production from him. Jeremy Grant becomes a little more interesting because of the competitive game aspect. Tyler Hero for sure, Kyle Lowry possible, and then you got Cade Cunningham, and then we've got to talk about your boy Corey Joseph.
He's not my boy. I do not want. I'm probably going to play him, but he's still not my boy.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just disgusting, right? Like, I mean, so you're if you run the numbers so far this season in that small sample, you get this, you see that beautiful 16% usage rate and is about a 0.7 fantasy point per minute. And sure, he played 39 minutes in the last game. Now, do we really expect him to play 39 minutes again tonight?
No, but he doesn't need to. I expect him to play around 32. Well, I'm just pulling my projections up right now. That's probably where our projections are. Yeah, 33. We got him projected for 33 minutes, and he's like a 0.7-ish fantasy point minute guy this season. We got him projected for around 21 fantasy points, and it's fine.
Did you see his usage in that game?
It was no,
5%.
Is that bad?
he shot the ball 4 times.
I think Jeremy Grant was taking a lot of like long twos, and he scored a lot of points. But yeah,
in 39 minutes.
Yeah, that's just minutes equal money, right? Not all minutes are created equal. His minutes are created poorly, but he is super cheap, and value may close on us in this slate, and it may. Well, we're not really sure where value is going to be. Denver can open up for sure. That's later on, and that's also part of the strategies. You have to, commit to certain players that may not be. It's not a lock. It's not a smash. And Corey Joseph is never going to smash, right? But he's also like the guy that you're not playing because you love him, but you play him because he helps you get the guys you love, right?
Sure.
So that's how that goes down. I just wanted to say I pulled up the if then stuff, and the tricky part with the if then stuff with Miami is that we don't know about Duncan Robinson and we don't know about PJ Tucker. If Duncan Robinson doesn't play, I think that makes maybe Caleb Martin starts, maybe Max Drew starts. Those guys can be interesting darts. If Robinson's out and if Bam and they're both out, they could be interesting. And then Strus is kind of like a poor man's Robinson. He could chuck from three. Decent little player. Don't mind him if Robinson doesn't go. But we see just a straight up, if Bam doesn't go, we have projected Dwayne Dedman for 24 DK points, 23 FanDuel points, which, pretty positive, obviously. As far as the other bumps, Butler gets an incremental bump, 49, 50 points all of a sudden now for his projection. Hero at 31-29. He's kind of priced up, but he's always in that GPP pool. Jump in here, Stevie. As far as Miami, let's talk about the Heat first. Let's knock them out. And, if Bam is in, who in the world is stopping Bam? If he's out, how much do you love Miami and the auxiliary pieces, especially if Robinson is also out?
I mean, on the Miami side, if Bam plays, I like Bam. I don't like Butler. If Bam sits, I like Butler. I don't, I think he's very much in play if that happens. I mean, I don't like Kyle Lowry regardless. I think his price is just kind of priced him out of play here. And then, I mean, Tyler Hero has a ceiling in any matchup when he gets hot. If Duncan Robinson sits, I don't think Martin or Astras is going to be like guys I ended up targeting. I'd more likely play like a PJ Tucker on DraftKings. He's 3.9K, going to be pretty low owned. And he's someone that has put up over 20 fantasy points in 5 straight games. So maybe Tucker is someone you look at if Bam doesn't play, or even if he does play. And then on the Detroit side, I mean, Cade Cunningham, his usage is insane right now. We're finally starting to see over 27% usage in 3 of the last 4 games. He's been pushing the pace a little bit more. Miami plays slow, and that's a little worrisome for me as far as Cade Cunningham goes. But I mean, if Corey Joseph is really going to be like massive chalk, I'm a one lineup guy. I'm probably going to fade him. I'll look for other value. I think you could look at like a Frank Jackson on the same team, same price, and just hope that Frank Jackson doesn't start. And I mean, Corey Joseph, even if he's getting 30 minutes, Cade Cunningham's going to have all the usage with the starters. So maybe Frank Jackson gets the usage with the second team and he outperforms somebody like Corey Joseph, because look at Frank Jackson the last 2 games, 20% and 21.5% usage with Hayes out.
Yeah, he's happy to chuck for sure. He's relatively cheap as well too. You guys remember when Cade Cunningham was a bust? Remember how upset Twitter was that he had 1 bad game or 2 in his first professional? Who would have thought? He was rusty, didn't have any preseason. Now he's like 7-ish, and I still don't know if that's the right price, but like you said, Stevie, it's not the best matchup. Miami plays slow, and they're a top 5 defense as well. Of course, if Bam doesn't play, their defense takes a hit incrementally. Yeah, man, he's still legit, and I think he's still in the pool for sure. Grant's a guy that's willing to shoot the ball as well. We saw it last time. Again, not a great matchup, but only a 4-game slate, and sure, kind of sort of somewhat interesting, I suppose. Kirk, your favorite stuff as far as the Detroit side?
Grant would be my number 1. Cunningham would be my number 2. I mean, I feel like in GPPs, like you gotta fade. Like Stevie said, if he was doing one lineup tonight in GPP, he's fading Corey Joseph. I think you have to do that. Now it's like it's funny. It's like he'll end up putting up one of those really big games, but so what? If that happens, then we move on. But I think the right play is to be underweight on him in GPPs tonight. I don't have much love for Frank Jackson. I don't have any love for Luke Garza. I really don't. It's just really just the 2 main usage guys, which would be Grant and Cunningham for me.
What if Garza starts and he's 3K still minimum on DK, and like he's shown a skill set, where he can he's put up fantasy points. I think he was good in the G League. I think he was good in what do they run there in Vegas? What do they call the Summer League? Like, I think he's shown flashes. He's supposed to have the ability to score fantasy points. And so far in a small sample, he's been all right. He also has been played off the court a couple of times when I was watching. He doesn't look like he's fully ready just yet. Like, that's why Bam's going to work him if he plays.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have much love for Garza in this one. I mean, at 3K, if he gets the star and he's 3K, then sure. I mean, you can play head chopper. You could play head chopper in that spot too as well. But it doesn't really move. It's not someone I would like to have a bunch of tonight. I mean, there's just this game is just in general.
Diallo's interesting too. We've seen his minutes creep up, and he's still 3-5 on DK Hamadou. But like again, these are all kind of sort of darts, and somebody's going to rise out of this. And it's possible we see Joseph fall back because, like, you know, he's the veteran that just whatever, but like he's not anywhere part of their future. When Detroit is hypothetically good, he's not going to be on that team. Like they have no reason to develop him, but he can certainly go out there and, you know, eat minutes and just, you know, be on the court and be a professional and all that good stuff.
I think Diallo is a lot more interesting if Bam sits. I could see the game going a lot smaller and him getting more minutes.
Yeah. Oh man. And Dedmon, is he just a smash if Bam doesn't play?
I mean, like I said, I think I could see the game going small. Like we could see Grant play the 5.
Sure.
Against, I don't even know who from Miami, PJ Tucker.
Well, he's also
Bam.
questionable. And
Yeah,
Trey
he's
Lyles can
questionable
play some
too.
5. Like we're gonna see Trey Lyles at the 5 some. We're gonna see Grant at the 5 some, and we're gonna see Garza at the 5 some. Right? That's all the potential 5s for Detroit. Am I missing somebody? I think that's it. Yeah. Other pieces that are worth. I mean, Sadiq Bey, he's just sort of fine. I think if I land on him, I don't know if I blow my lineup up, but I'm definitely not seeking him out. That's sort of my thought on Sadiq Bey. Is anybody else like Kirky's Sadiq Bey? Yes, no, fine.
I'm usually on board with him tonight, but I just don't like this matchup and overall game environment. So, and his price tag it doesn't really do much for me. It's a 4-game slate, so sure, everyone's in play. But I kind of like your idea with Diallo potentially for, you know, playing a few more minutes, and at least we know he can be pretty productive in those minutes. Sadiq's a pretty good player, but it's just a tough matchup for him.
Yeah, and I have my eye on if like Strus starts or if Caleb Martin starts. They're kind of sort of, but they also have Gabe Vincent. Like they have other bodies, they have other guys that can sort of do basically the same stuff. I'm not falling over myself for it, but whatever. It's 3K and it's fine, and it's in your tournament pool. I'm not sure if it's in the cash game necessarily. Stevie, give me your favorite player on Miami and your favorite player on Detroit.
Well, I think Bam if he plays, Butler if he doesn't, and then on Detroit, I think Frank Jackson, just because I think he's going to be 5% owned compared to Corey Joseph at 40%, and they're basically the same play, except for Frank Jackson actually gets usage and Corey Joseph doesn't.
See, we got Frank Jackson 10% projected. Yeah, basically on a 4-game slate. That's a huge.
I like him more now that I'm looking at him. That seems like an obvious pivot spot from Joseph.
He could score like 20 actual points. Like he's capable of doing that. He's also, his floor is like 6. Like it could get.
It might be lower than
that. Yeah, but for tournaments, what do you care about that, right? You're shooting for the top. You're not necessarily shooting for the mid cash. Same question, Kirk Deasy, before we move on. Favorite player in Miami, favorite player in Detroit. We'll talk about the Lakers and New York in a second.
Same thoughts as Stevie with the Miami. I like Bam if he plays. I like Butler if he doesn't. On the other side of my favorite Piston is Jeremy Grant, because if I think this game is going to be somewhat competitive, then he's the guy I want.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the other game. It starts early, 7:30, Lake Show in New York. I believe this is the first half of a TNT doubleheader. This is a TNT game, right? I'm sure they're thrilled that LeBron is not playing. Davis also questionable right now. He's, again, not feeling particularly well. And Austin Reeves is out with his hamstring. As far as the New York side, some of their bigs are also hurting. Taj Gibson, he has a groin, so he is doubtful. Mitch Robb, concussion, so he is out. 2 of their bigs are out. And then there's Derrick Rose, who's got his ankle, so he is questionable. So, you know, Stevie, another potential cheapie, another guy that has terrible, terrible usage. Nerlens Noel, probably assuming he can dodge foul trouble, which is kind of a big assumption with him. He might be asked to play 31, 32, 34, 35 minutes. You know, good stocks guy, better, I suppose, on FanDuel as far as their scoring system. That's one place to start, I think, on New York. Is Nerlens Noel kind of sort of someone interesting or not necessary in this slate?
I think they're more likely to roll out Julius Randle for 40 minutes than Nerlens Noel getting 25 minutes. I get it. I mean,
I think they both happen.
I don't, because like, where are the Lakers going to go big? I think it also depends on Anthony Davis for what it's worth. I mean, this could be one of those spots we see like Julius Randle play the 5 against like Horton Tucker, something along those lines. Like, I don't think that's something that's too crazy. I think this game overall really just depends on Anthony Davis because it opens up a lot for the Knicks. Derrick Rose matters. If he doesn't play, it could potentially open up some stuff as well. But I mean, on the Lakers side of things, Horton Tucker and Westbrook set up to be fantastic plays here, depending on Davis. I mean, I like Horton Tucker regardless. He's probably going to be the chalkiest play on the slate, but I mean, this is NBA. I don't think I can fade him even in one lineup. I'm more likely to fade like a Corey Joseph because, I mean, we look at Horton Tucker, 25, 25, and 25% usage in all 3 games without LeBron. So, I mean, that's a no-brainer for me.
46% currently projected as far, and again, this projection, it's an hour and a half before the first game starts. There's so much stuff up in the air, so it's fluid. But as of right now, like, of course, THT should be very, very popular. 46% projected on DK and FanDuel, I believe it's the same story. Yeah, 32%. So a little bit lower, but still same sort of concept. And like you said, obviously with LeBron stepping aside, the potential of Davis stepping aside, a lot of usage is going to fall the way of THT. We saw him when LeBron was out and when Davis got ejected in the fourth quarter against somebody they're getting walloped by. I can't remember who it was. He just was chucking. He was throwing the ball from like 35 feet away from the rim, shooting some threes. He's very, very happy to take those shots. I wonder if we get, like you talk about big and small, do we get DeAndre Jordan starting and Davis starting alongside him? And then, of course, we have Dwight Howard, another big that's lurking, and also Davis can play the 5. So it's a New York kind of sort of needs the, the size of Noel, who's not even like this huge 5. Obi Toppin's another guy who can play the 5, and of course, they can play Randall the 5 too. And you mentioned, if Rose doesn't go, Rose, of course, is questionable. Kemba, Alec Burks or Emmanuel Quickly should step up and get some sort of bump. And it's hard to say because that's all fluid. It's all in-game stuff because the Knicks, their starters have been a disaster. Their bench isn't better. And it's just really, really hard to predict who's going to close this team. Probably not Fournier. Yeah. So I don't know what side of this game you want to start on here, Kirk. Well, let me ask you this. What if Davis is healthy? What if he plays? Are we interested in Anthony Davis as a big spend today?
Yes and no. Certainly so let's say like Luka and Jokic end up getting ruled out later in the night, and Davis plays, you're going to want Davis probably in that situation.
You won't know. That's the thing.
Exactly. But I'm saying you're going to look and say, damn, I wish I had Anthony Davis in my lineup. But so it's interesting to me. I was just trying to think about how they're going to run this game out. Cause like you see the 2 big bodies they have in DeAndre Jordan, which you mentioned, and Dwight Howard. So they could.
By the way, not to cut you off, but Bam Adebayo officially in. Duncan Robinson, PJ Tucker still game time decisions. Bam Adebayo looked over in that Detroit side and said, "Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm going to maul these guys. Like, come on, get out of here with Grant and Garza and Lyles and Diallo, where they're going to throw on them." Yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, but I like Westbrook no matter what. I think he probably becomes an even better play with AD, but I like them both pretty much equally in this spot. I do on the Knicks side, like you were saying, I do lean to the side that they're going to have to play Noel big minutes in this one, just because I think that the Lakers will be forced to play AD and DeAndre Jordan instead of just splitting them to like 12 or 13 minutes each. So maybe they each get, a little bit more, or even Dwight Howard gets more and they keep Jordan around the same length of time. But I like Kemba Walker. I mean, I shouldn't because he's been so bad. But if Rose is out, I like Kemba, and I think a really sneaky play, and like the Knicks, if they don't go the Noel route, that Stevie was thinking, that Obi Toppin is a guy that they can use more in this game. So
he'll play the 5.
Yeah.
What about? I thought you were going to say like Quickly. I thought maybe he would be in the conversation, potentially sneaky, and it's hard to sort of figure how that's going to go. And Alec Burks, is a guy that can put 20 real life points in that bucket. It's kind of sort of what he has to do. If you look at fantasy points per minute, as far as the New York side, you kind of like run them down. The best player, of course, is Randall. Revenge game, yada yada. Going to play 40 minutes on FanDuel at 8.4. Looks pretty appealing. DK 10K, a little bit trickier. But Toppin has been over a fantasy point per minute this season, 1.06. Rose 1.04. Burks 0.95. Kemba 0.93. Quickly 0.88. Barrett 0.85. Noel 0.81. better on FanDuel, right? Yeah, 0.99 on FanDuel, where he gets those stocks. That's how he really gets going. And Fournier just has been a stone disaster this year. Not looking, that contract already looking pretty rough. It's looking about as rough if you Google his name. Don't Google Evan Fournier or just Fournier. Don't do it. Bad idea. Not advisable. Stevie, yeah, I don't know how to say. I don't know how to evaluate who's going to be good in this New York side, but like the matchup obviously against the Lakers is great. It could become better if Davis doesn't play. I don't know. It's like a whack-a-mole game. Which one of these guards is going to have a good game tonight? Who's going to be efficient? I couldn't tell you. Could you tell me?
I think if you're, I mean, just looking for pure upside, I think it's Kimba. And I mean, you hope it's Kimba because I mean, I feel like he's the guy that has the most ceiling. It could potentially be maybe RJ Barrett. I don't know if I really want to play like an Alec Burks. I mean, he just sits in the corner sometimes and you get no production whatsoever. And Evan Fournier, I mean, his minutes have been all over the place. And I just, yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at the Knicks, I mean, Julius Randle, I think is a fantastic tournament play. I mean, we could have started there. I don't think a lot of people will play him depending on the news, especially with Bam being in now. So I think Julius Randle is an excellent tournament contrarian play. I mean, revenge, right? Like Julius Randle against the Lakers. He wants to show what's up. But I mean, all joking aside, I think Kimba is the guy that I'm going to play the most from on the Knicks. And I mean, that makes me like bit in my mouth a little bit.
Randall seems like a really, really good play. I don't know how contrarian he's going to be, and it's hard to kind of hide in a 4-game slate. And again, I don't know how many people are going to be waiting in that holding pattern, hoping to hit like maybe a low-owned Doncic, like because people probably don't want to chance it. They don't want to get stuck, but we'll get there. But of course, you can switch to like Paul George if you're on Doncic or something like that. Worst case scenario in your utility spotter, depending on what site you're shopping on. I had this random thought, Kirk, this game, right? It's on TNT. Doesn't Anthony Davis hate it when Charles Barkley calls him street clothes? Like in Barkley, I mean, look, Barkley's going to be all over him. Like, this is in Davis's head. He doesn't want to be on TNT. And he's very likely legitimately sick. What if he can't play?
Do we know it's in his head? Do we really? Or
no,
do you think he's? No. I just picture his head as like money sign, dollar bills, like just.
Why is that?
Because they're rich. Who cares? They're so rich.
Good for him, man.
But yeah, I don't know. So really breaking down this whole game, Taylor Horton Tucker, based on his usage, workload, minutes with LeBron James out, which has been about 35 minutes a game, about almost 1 point. He's actually been 1.17 DK points per minute. Looks great. We should be mentioning Melo revenge, right? Melo back in the Garden, right? But I think Randall is I'm playing Randall tonight for sure. Like I have him kind of locked in everywhere. So because I just see 40 minute upside. I see the Lakers are second in pace, right? So it's a pace up spot. They're also 28th in opponent steals. They're also playing without LeBron, who's one of their more efficient players. So it just screams like and you get the revenge aspect. Like I don't see how Randall fails here tonight.
Should I ask the Magic 8 Ball? I just see Easy in chat. What up, chat? We get the acknowledge y'all. Hit the like button. We appreciate that with the old algorithm and all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, ask some questions. Producer Steve's going to be compiling those. Throw me some questions. We'll hit those later on in the show. Do our best to knock out as many as possible. But I have the Magic 8 Ball on hand. Should I ask the Magic 8 Ball if Davis is playing tonight?
All right. If you have whatever resources you got, whatever sources you have, Dean. I feel like this is what Siege used to do, and then claim his sources. His sources.
This is science. Yeah, sources. This is my source, the Magic 8 Ball. All right. Will Anthony Davis play tonight? As I see it, yes. There it is.
There you go.
He's playing. Unless the Magic 8 Ball is just defunct and whatever. All right. What else should we say regarding this game? Yeah, Stevie, give me your favorite play on both sides of this game before we move on.
I mean, THT for sure on the Lakers. I don't care about the news with LeBron out. He's just the guy. And then, I mean, I think on the Knicks, it's Julius Randle, but like more realistically, it's Kemba Walker.
Same question, Kirkies?
I mirror what Stevie or I are aligned on this one.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Denver and Portland. 214 is the total. Denver is a 7-point dog here. Nikola Jokic, he's got his wrist, so he's questionable. Bones Highland's out with an ankle. We know MPJ is out with his back. Portland, clean. Nothing in the injury report, as far as I can tell. I don't see anything. They should be good to go. Oh, did you guys hear that noise? No, Top Shot. I got my Top Shot packs already. I'm like, what is that noise? I got Top Shot packs. Very exciting.
I didn't even. I'm done with Top Shot. I didn't even.
I'm not
I didn't even go for those packs today.
I'm like, what is that noise? I'm like, oh yeah, my Top Shot is up. Get excited. All right, so let's play the game again, Kirk Dees. Maybe we can ask the Magic 8 Ball. Nikola Jokic, is he playing tonight? If he does play, the way the prices have been bumped up than everybody else, most everybody else in Denver is basically out of the question. He's going to get a lot of usage. You know, you could play Barton in tournaments, I suppose, but he's way priced up. Morris is playable, I suppose. But yeah, it's Jokic or bust, more or less. If he doesn't, then there's a lot of interesting stuff. Go ahead and tell me both sides of Denver. If Jokic in, if Jokic out.
Yeah, I don't have a take on whether he's in or out. I think it's like truly a game time decision, 50-50. I mean, he was a game time decision in the last game. So I think we have to say it's somewhat likely that he will be able to suit up, but I think it's truly 50-50. So, I mean, he's a great player. He's a great stud. Like, he does everything for this team. So obviously he's going to hit optimals tonight. And I see nothing against that if he's in, but if he's out, it's Aaron Gordon was just really, really good in that last game or a couple of games ago. And then, you know, we have to then talk about the greens. Which green do we gravitate towards? I mean, on that same night when Gordon was good, I mean, Jeff Green had like the monster first half and then literally just did nothing the entire second half, which is the Jeff Green experience.
A lot of fun.
But yeah, I think Monty Morris is kind of sneaky. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a good matchup with Portland, right? And like, if Jokic is out, it's just massive usage to go around for everyone. Will Barton is the former Blazer also, and he's pretty much is going to rate out from as the best play.
But it's really baked into that price, 7.4 on DK. Like, it doesn't mean he can't pay it off, but it's really baked in. 6.5 on FanDuel, a little more appealing for me. No?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
23 on Yahoo, by the way. I know you're a kid, Yahoo. Like, how do you not play that? That's even playable if Jokic plays, I think. Playable.
Correct. Yeah, it's playable. You could do worse. But yeah, he would become a must play with Jokic out.
If Jokic is out, we have Aaron Gordon projected to close to 40 fantasy points, Barton 36, 37, depending on, and both greens are in the mid to high 20s. Stevie, thoughts as far as Denver?
I mean, obviously Jokic, if he's out, Barton, I like Barton regardless in this game. I bet his prop for threes, I think it was a 2.5, and his point prop was like 15.5. I bet both of those this morning. I like both of those for him, you know, today. I think he's someone that is going to put up a lot of shots in this game, whether Jokic plays or not. So, I mean, Jokic is someone, if he plays, he's with Porter Jr. out, Jokic's usage is just really high. Kind of the same reason that, you know, Barton his usage is up as well. But I mean, if Jokic sits, Aaron Gordon, I hate playing Aaron Gordon. As a longtime Magic fan, just the price increase stinks, but I do think him and Jeff Green are okay. I mean, I'm just not overly excited about Denver in general here. Like, even like Austin Rivers has been getting big minutes lately, and like, I don't know what they're doing in Denver. Barton,
he started one night, Rivers.
Yeah, I mean, Barton by far my favorite play here from Denver if Jokic is out, and then Aaron Gordon would probably be second.
And what do you have as far as the Portland side?
I guess we should mention Highland's out too.
Yeah.
I mean, just enough minutes to go around. But Portland, I mean, CJ McCollum, I think is in a great spot. This is a team that does allow a lot of 3-pointers. So, I mean, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard finally showing up to the season. It's nice to see him putting up 20 shots a night now. And, you know, his price is definitely caught up to the production. So I think CJ McCollum at the discount. And I mean, in tournaments, I think you have to take a shot on Nurkic. If you get that game where he plays 26, 27 minutes, like, he's just producing at such a high clip in such a limited amount of time right now. I think Nurkic is just someone that in tournaments, you're just rolling the dice on.
Yeah, they're playing small ball sometimes, and we've seen Larry Nance close. And I think the interesting thing there is, I think Nance has a better chance to play more minutes if Jokic doesn't play. Then the game is more likely to go small. I think Nance is a fine play either way, but I think Nance becomes even more interesting if we see Jokic out on the other side, especially his price on DK. What we're looking at, he's 4.4 on FanDuel, but his DK price I think is 3.8. Yeah, and he's $12 on Yahoo. Talk to me, Kirk. Is Nance in your Yahoo pool? And by the way, Taj Gibson out with his groin, and Derrick Rose out with his ankle. So New York, a lot of fun.
Kemba season.
Oh boy.
Let's go.
Right. Yeah, let's do it.
We didn't mention Carmelo back in the Garden.
He's a Celtics. You're a Celtics guy too, right?
Magic.
No,
yeah.
All
Unfortunately,
that's okay. Right.
Big Baby Davis and the old Amway falling and getting mad at the. Oh man, I was at that game. It was
fun. Anyway, so Dame is criminally underpriced, kind of on FanDuel and somewhat on Yahoo as well. So I think you should probably, lock in your CJ on DK and Dame on the other two sites. But Nurkic has been crushing lately from a fantasy point per minute standpoint. It's just been the minutes that he hasn't had. He hasn't seen, he got 29 minutes back on 11-12. And, it's been rough since then, maxing out at 23 each in his last two games. Did have foul trouble in each of those games, but was extremely efficient when he was on the court and was on his way to absolutely smashing, and pretty much did smash for the price point. So I think, Nurkic against his former squad, we can definitely get on board and just hope that we see kind of a minutes increase in this one.
And I mean, you mentioned the foul trouble too. You get him out of the foul trouble the last two games. The Toronto game, they went kind of small. And then in Denver, that was just a weird game in general. They got blown out big time in there. So we lost Dean. So I'll kind of, I mean, the show is definitely going to be smoother now. You're welcome, everyone, for Dean's internet crashing. But just to kind of continue on like the thing that Dean was doing, give me your favorite like Denver player and give me your favorite Portland player here.
All right. My favorite Denver player, obviously, if Jokic plays, would be Jokic. But if he doesn't play, then it's going to be, I just think Aaron Gordon is going to be the guy that ends up doing a lot. Actually, Will Barton is the favorite play. So I think I have to do that. But when his price on DK is a little bit high, but on the other side, it's more bearable. And then on the Portland side, I do like Dame. I'm going to keep buying Dame right now until I think he is like, can we call him back? It was a pretty easy game against a depleted Sixers squad, but 56 fantasy points, 21 shot attempts, was getting, took 13 threes. So obviously the confidence is there. He's going to shoot his way out of this, and he's going to have some monster nights when he goes off. And so I'm just going to keep buying him at the reduced price tag. And then I can play Nance. I think we can get by. I think he has been seeing an increase in minutes now. So he's basically been over 20 in his last 6 games, and he's went as high as 27. So I mean, if we can we know what this guy does on a fantasy point per minute standpoint. He does a lot with the blocks, steals, and rebounds and whatnot. So if we can get a higher, if we can get an uptick in minutes here, I think he could really smash. And he's fine. Like he's probably going to get there at these prices anyway, no matter what in this game.
I don't disagree with Dean. I like Nance more if Jokic sits. I think there's more opportunity for him if that happens. But I mean, I don't mind Nance at low ownership. Like when I just sent in to change my answer on Expert Survey because I had Nance as like my favorite low owned salary relief play earlier this morning, and I switched it to Jackson because I really do think Frank Jackson's a really good pivot off of Corey Joseph. So I mean, on Denver, I'm with you. If Jokic doesn't play, Will Barton and Aaron Gordon, and then on Portland, CJ McCollum and Lillard, I think you just pay up for the studs on the Portland side. Or I mean, if Jokic plays, I think Nurkic is super interesting. We finished it out with Dallas at LA taking on the Clippers. I mean, the biggest news here is Luka, and we're still waiting. I think he's like a true game time decision, and we won't get this news before lock of the 7 and 7:30 games. So, I mean, that definitely makes you think about how you want to approach your roster construction, I think. And then on the Clippers side, I mean, Marcus Morris coming back, he played 25 and 30 minutes in the 2 games that he has played this season, and Nicholas Batum being out, there's opportunity for Morris to play. Talk to me here. What do you think about this Dallas team?
I mean, it all is on Luka's shoulders here. So I would have thought that would make sense. And like, I had the same take that you had where you were thinking that he's not going to play because like, why rush it? And you get this little break here for the holidays and whatnot. But he did scrimmage yesterday. There was that, I guess he banged knees, which he said there was no more damage to or anything like that. But he did go through shoot around today. So when you go from scrimmage to shoot around to then playing. And so he's on track to play. So I'm kind of thinking that he will play, but that whole little, bang knees puts a damper in that. So I really don't know. So again, I think this situation is like 50-50 to me too, as well. But the obvious plays are, I mean, we've been dealing with it. It's Brunson, it's Tim Hardaway Jr. and Porzingis's rates all kind of stay the same, but he's certainly in play. Just on theory, with Luka out, that he should have more opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think with it being so early in the season, it's such a close call for Luka. I mean, they're 9-7. It's not like they're hurting by any means. The Western Conference is going to be close all year long. So I mean, if Luka sits, Brunson and Porzingis, Hardaway is still really cheap. What do you think, Dean?
What's up, y'all? My apologies. That was not my internet for the record. The entire power went off for the block. So, geez, 5 seconds, but that's enough to knock everything out, right? I just saw everything go dark outside my window, but yeah, I mean, really, it's really clear as far as the Dallas side. I don't know if Luka's going to play or he's not going to play, but the comment he said, like, I'm going to try everything I can to play, seems like he's leaning to. And he also said the other comment was whatever he banged in practice, it didn't make his previous injuries any worse. So, yeah, I suspect he plays like 60-40, but who knows? If he does, all the other guys, their prices have moved up. Like, you can't play Brunson. Like, you just can't. You can, but I can't. There's no way. Like, he's like 7.5 or something goofy, something ridiculous out there. Cannot justify that price on DK. FanDuel, it's up there as well too. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. If he doesn't play all three, THJ, Brunson, there's still a little bit of meat on that bone. I think he's still a fine play. Obviously not the smash he was like 5K or 6K. And then there is Porzingis, who's been phenomenal. His rates have been fabulous. It started out the season scuffling. He was great in the preseason, and he's certainly turned that around. Looks pretty solid of late. As far as the other side of that game, I'm not sure if you guys talked about it. Have you talked about the Clippers side?
Nope. We just got to the Dallas side.
Yeah, the Clippers are weird because, like, Paul George is great. He's expensive. Nobody hurt on the Clippers side. They do have Batum, who's in COVID protocol. I'm not sure if he actually had COVID. I'm not really sure, but I did see, and somebody actually has this as one of their questions I saw in chat as well. What up, chat? Fire off a couple more questions. We'll do our best to knock out as many as possible before we step aside and make way for crunch time. The Clippers called off practice earlier. Is there something to worry about? Is it maybe I saw the idea floated out there, maybe somebody else or a COVID spread? I don't know. I don't have an answer, but just be aware of that. The only guy missing on that team is Batum as of right now. And they now have 3 centers, which kind of, Hartenstein is you really can't trust him to even get 12 minutes necessarily, with Morris being back. Zubac, of course, another big. I don't love anything on the Clippers, outside of Paul George. Maybe I'm wrong, Kirk Dees, but you could play Zubac and he probably gets around 25 minutes or so, but now there's 3 centers jockeying for that position, and who knows how much run Morris or Hartenstein even get. They might only get like 20 total.
We did just see him get 27 minutes in the same spot against Dallas, so I think we can at least feel somewhat comfortable in his minutes here. Reggie Jackson is, man, fine. I mean, he just played 35 minutes and had a decent game. It's the thing that I liked about Jackson is he had 25% usage in that game. He was chucking, 14 field goal attempts. He was 4 for 8 from 3, 32 fantasy points. No reason why he can't do that again here in this one. His price is just kind of fine, right? He's on a normal, if everything kind of like pans out where people are in, then he's certainly a fine play. I don't really have much love for anybody else here on this squad. It's kind of Paul George is my main one. I think Reggie Jackson is in play. I think Zubac is in play. And I don't really like much else.
Let me ask you this, from everything you know right now, and of course there is some guesswork, as far as the studs, like where do you rank Paul George in comparison to Jokic, Davis, Lukic, Butler, Bam, Randall? Where is he? Is he on the podium, cracking the top 3 or what?
He's just hovering just outside of it. He's and I probably, I shouldn't like Randall more, but I do like Randall more. So I have him right behind Randall. I would say Joker, assuming he plays, would be number 1. Luka would be up there potentially. And then Westbrook, I like. AD, I like. Randall, I like. He's right there. I mean, it's really tough to narrow all of these studs down.
It's funny, we named like, it's a 4-game slate. We named like 7 studs and we didn't even name Lillard. Like, he's still a stud, I think, maybe. But yeah, Stevie,
we talked about Lillard. You just weren't here, Dean.
No, I'm saying in that he just ran down a bunch of studs like in that little conversation there. But yeah, I'm sure you guys handled Portland just fine.
So as far as them, like, just really quick, as far as them canceling shoot around this morning, I read something from a beat writer saying that they were still waiting for a couple tests to come in, so they didn't feel like it was smart to go with shoot around. So I don't think it was anything. I don't think that anything happens with that game tonight. What was your question? I'm sorry.
As far as the studs on the slate, like who are you prioritizing? We live in the world of a salary cap. You can only get so many, obviously. And with what you know right now, we don't know if Jokic's playing. We don't know if Davis is playing. Luka, we don't know if he's playing. How would you prioritize your big spends?
Well, I kind of like the 7 and 8K range, so I might like end up playing like 4 or 5 guys from that range if depending on the news. I mean, if Anthony Davis sits, I think Westbrook is a priority. If Jokic sits, I mean, the cheap guys, Barton, Aaron Gordon, and then if Luka sits, I don't know if I like Porzingis and Brunson is more than I like some of these other guys, depending on injury news. So I think it's still, I hate to like say this, but I think right now it's still hard to answer that question because we're waiting on so much news. But right now, like my main lineup on DraftKings has 5 guys in the 7 to 8K range and just kind of going balanced.
Interesting. You have any other final thoughts on the Clippers before we turn it over to the chat? I have some questions lined up. We'll knock those out before we make way for crunch time.
Yeah, I mean, on the Clippers side, the only guy that I think is somewhat interesting here is Zubac. And I mean, Paul George is just fantastic, but I think Zubac is the guy that's interesting. I mean, looking at the Dallas side of things, Cleaver is back. They have Powell. They're going to need some size here on the Clippers. So I think a guy like Zubac, just at his price, makes some sense here.
This is a question in chat. Is Garza viable in tournaments tonight? I think he's got a couple routes, like through blowout potentially. And there's a chance, at least a chance he starts. There's also a chance Bam works him right off the court pretty quickly. What do you think, Kirk Dees? Is he viable in tournaments? I think he's viable, but it's large field.
Yeah, I mean, he can get you 15 to 20 fantasy points, right? That wouldn't be. I just don't see much more upside than that, but I'm not sure. I think he's viable because he's 3K, and if he draws the start, then anybody's viable.
Stevie, Larry Nance in tournaments on DK. Do you like him? I think he's going to be popular, for the record, Nance. But your thoughts as far as, I don't think he's like sneaky, if that's what anybody else is thinking. But you like Nance tonight in tournaments?
If Jokic sits, yes. If Jokic plays, no.
This question, if Rose sits, he is sitting. Kirk Dees, do you like Quickly or Burks tonight? I prefer Quickly, personally.
I prefer Quickly in that scenario. He's been closing, and I just like the young talent better. I gravitate towards, but I told you, like, Kemba's going to be my guy now. God help me.
Can you play 2 of them, or it not? Well, maybe you can, I think, but you don't. It's not comfortable, but you should be able to, I think.
Yeah, you can.
Stevie, thoughts? You kind of mentioned this earlier in the show. Maybe somebody join us late. Thoughts on the Detroit kind of like wings, I suppose. Frank Jackson or Diallo? I know you were like Jackson at least a little bit earlier before some news broke.
I think I'm going to roll with Jackson tonight. I mean, I think it sets up really good for him, and I think Corey Joseph is just going to be massive chalk. So it's I mean, it's an easy 1v1 swap to instantly make your team different.
Let's see. Favorite value and spend up play on DK. So give me both, Kirkties. I'm going to ask you, Stevie, in a second as well. Kirkties, your favorite value play on DK and your favorite big spend on DK.
My favorite value play, I'm going to call Kemba a value play, and he's going to be my favorite value play. And then Jokic, assuming he plays, is going to be my favorite spend up.
Stevie, same question.
I think my favorite spend up, depending on news, is going to be Bam. The more I think about this spot for Bam is just, if this game has the potential to stay close, there's just nobody for Detroit that's going to stop him. So, I mean, I think I'll pair Bam with Cunningham for what it's worth. So I hope that game just stays close. And then my favorite cheap guy, I mean, I think it's Kemba Walker.
Oh boy,
God help me.
They're asking for a cash game rundown. I will say this as far as like the core. I think THT is in your core in cash today. Seems like a really, really strong play. Assuming Corey Joseph starts, I know it's Corey Joseph and whatever, but he seems like a pretty solid cash game play on both FanDuel and on DK. Is he cracking Yahoo as well, Kirkties? Corey Joseph? Are you not sure?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he is. He's the minimum.
Yeah, if he's $10 over there, like, yeah, you should be able to eke out somewhere in the low 20s or something like that with a little bit more floor. Than they normally would have. And I think Randall, I really like that Randall price on FanDuel at 8.4K, and like for sure in tournaments on DK, maybe even cash. Well, I don't know if he's not necessarily somebody in cash, but I wouldn't blow things up either. Favorite game stack, Stevie, if you're going to stack a game tonight, which is your most appealing game stack on the board?
I mean, if Jokic sits, I think it's Denver Portland. If he plays, I don't know why, but I think it's Miami Detroit. Just playing Bam in that game just looks so juicy. Playing Jackson looks so juicy. And then, I mean, I think Cunningham has to have a big game for the game to stay close. So I really just, I don't know. I think the game's slow pace. It's the slowest paced game on the slate. And I mean, I think if it stays close, it has potential.
Same question, Kirk D. So we're going to step aside and make way for crunch time. Your favorite game stack, if there is one for you.
I think it's Lakers Knicks. I think it has to be. I think you look at both teams defensively, and they're both in like the bottom third of for defensive ratings, and then you get the situation where bodies out, multiple bodies out for the Knicks. So, and what coach can we feel confident about, like running guys out for huge minutes? And that's Tibbs. So I think, we don't know what we're going to get with Kemba.
Who the guys are is the tricky part, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's very possible that Kemba gets a nice boost in minutes. I think it's very possible that Nerlens Noel plays a ton of minutes. And I think it's got to be extremely likely that Julius Randle is going to be on the court most of the entire game, right? Assuming he doesn't foul out and whatnot. And I think it pairs well with some of the studs, Westbrook and AD are there, and Taylor Horn Tucker. You can play Carmelo if you want to for a little narrative. You're probably going to be chucking back in the Garden. So that's the game that I'll stack.
Up against the clock. Do appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button on your way out. Do subscribe, turn on notifications. If you guys are RG Premium members, fire up crunch time. That starts in 10 minutes. They'll break down any news that breaks, from now till then or up until lock. That was Stevie. That was Steve behind the glass producing. Thank you, Steve. And that was Kirkties, Kid Yahoo. I was Dean. That was basketball. Enjoy. We're out of here. Oh.